obviously with the Harden rumors, we said we are going to talk about a little bit more of that. We're going to get into that all offseason. But one rumor that came out with Harden, obviously we've talked about the Houston stuff for months, but the newest rumor is that he has his sights set on Phoenix, if not a return back to Houston. So what are your thoughts on the potential of Harden going to Phoenix? And the only way that would be to happen, it would have to be a sign and trade, and Phoenix would have to get rid of Chris Paul as well as DeAndre Ayton to make the contracts work for that to happen. So what do you guys think of that potential?
I mean, it's just, to me, it's just people just coming up with stuff. Like, neither team has a coach right now. Like, yeah. Are we talking about where the players are going? We don't even know who's going to coach them. It's just like, why are we having this conversation? You don't know the direction. We don't know the direction of the teams. We don't know the direction in management. We don't know the direction in coaching. Like, we don't know. So it's, I mean, I understand.
A lot of reports out of Phoenix right away came out that they're going to try really hard to get rid of Ayton's contract and Paul's contract. That's where it started, and then when same thing with Harden.
I mean, Chris older, you seen that coming. Ayton had issues last year, didn't sign with someone else, and they matched it. Mm-hmm. Like, did we forget this?
He certainly didn't.
he signed with someone else and they matched it. And Chris is older and everyone knows. Like, why is that a shock that we talking about those two guys there?
But have you heard we did a swap? Arrow staying, arrow up, arrow down for Chris Paul for Harden swap.
I don't see why we would do that. If we're gonna move James, you got to move James to get some younger pieces.
I think the reason why I would say we would is just because Chris Paul's contract's half guaranteed this year and not guaranteed at all next year. So it would be a way to kind of somewhat keep a similar roster for at least this 1 year. And then you have Tobias and Paul's contract both coming off the books at the same time. You get $75 million off your books, and you can pretty much start from scratch with Embiid and Maxey and go from there.
So then we're not talking about winning the championship next year.
But I think you still could if you had Chris Paul for this 1 year, right? I mean, it's close enough to Harden to the point where it's still you're still contending, right? I don't think it's that big of a drop.
You saying that honestly?
I don't think it's that big of a drop off.
I didn't say it was a big drop off. I'm just saying, are you still saying you're trying to win a championship? I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, you're still competing.
So making this move, you're going to come to us and say, we're still trying to win the championship. That's what you're going to come to us as fans and say.
For 1 year, we're going to give it a try with the same team, but instead of Harden, CP3 for 1 year.
With a new coach. No way. I'm not buying that. I don't know about everybody else. I'm not buying that. I'm just saying, okay, we'll still be competitive. We'll still make the playoffs, but you can't tell me you're trying to win a championship.
But we were contending for rings when we went from Brown to Doc, right? Even though we did a coaching switch.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but you got a Phoenix Suns saying they're trying to win a championship and they're moving away. You said they're moving away from Chris. And so we're going to take them and say, yeah, well, we're not like you guys. We're going to take Chris and we're trying to win a championship.
I think it's mostly just a stopgap for us because we don't want Harden to leave for nothing. That's the thing. Because if Harden leaves, we still don't have any money to spend. We're still tied. Our hands are tied. But at least this way you get
James also want more money, so you would imagine that he'll help. He'll want to move for something so he can get his best deal.
Yes. Yeah, that's why Ayton would probably have to be involved because Paul makes 30 and I think Harden wants 40.
And you're moving Ayton somewhere else, right?
You have to. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it really depends on what you would get for that Ayton piece.
You mean like what we would bring here to equal the salary of Paul and Harden? Yeah.
You said Ayton would be a part of it, but Ayton would go somewhere else. I said it would.
Yeah.
I would guess you would have to see what that is. Because if that's another guy that's not going to give you flexibility the next year, then I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun offseason. I'll tell you that much.
We'll see.
I wish Harden would just opt in to one friggin' year, and then him and Tobias could come off the books together next year.
He's not going to.
No way he's doing that. No way.
No. But at least with that Phoenix scenario, we get something back for him instead of him just going to Houston without getting anything.
At least for 1 year.
Yeah. But
at least. Maybe 2. I mean, that's the beauty of Paul's contract. It's pretty much like a 1-year deal for the rest of his contract.
But Phoenix is going to give up their starting center and starting point guard for James.
I would assume they'd get something back in that Ayton deal, like half of that contract, whatever that is. Like we get like a $17 million player, they would get like a $15 million player, and they would get James, and we would get Chris Paul. I mean, this is all completely craziness and speculative, but
yeah.
But I have heard with all the crazy salary cap restrictions that are coming up, it's going to be a wild. I heard it's going to be a wild offseason of guys being moved, just because teams are going to try to clean up their cap as much as possible before they get restricted on the hard cap, the second hard cap.
Yeah, we'll see.
So.